Everyone in their right minds knows not mess with the mafia, but sometimes the common man can be a greater menace than seasoned drug lords. Prepare to be wowed as we reveal shocking examples of cartels squaring up against unexpected champions. From cartels' apologies to twists of destiny that left the underworld reeling, these stories will have you on the edge of your seat, demonstrating that even the most powerful can be outwitted. Number 1. Hipólito Mora. Hipólito Mora, once a farmer who grew limes, became a significant figure in a movement for change in Mexico. It all started back in 2013 when he, alongside José Manuel Mireles Valverde, a doctor who became a leader in a group of paramilitary forces, initiated a movement in Michoacán, one of Mexico's states. Their aim was to empower regular citizens to resist the oppressive grip of the Knights Templar cartel. This criminal organization was notorious for its various crimes, including stealing land, kidnapping people, and demanding money from locals in exchange for allowing them to live peacefully. They even went so far as to impose taxes on essential goods like livestock and food, punishing those who dared to refuse. Mora and Mireles galvanized hope and determination among the people, demonstrating that collective action could challenge the dominance of the cartel and reclaim freedom. The genesis of this grassroots movement can be traced back to the deep-seated feeling of entrapment experienced by the populace under the ruthless rule of the Knights Templar. Unlike his predecessor, Felipe Calderón, who had deployed military forces against the cartels, Mexico's then new president, Enrique Peña Nieto, chose a different approach. Instead of direct confrontation, Peña Nieto prioritized strategies such as job creation and social programs aimed at dissuading young people from joining gangs. Mora revealed that they struck a deal with the government. In exchange for concealing their weapons, the government would take action against cartel leaders hiding in the mountains. This arrangement underscored the symbiotic relationship between the self-defense movement and the state's efforts to combat cartel influence. Despite encountering resistance from the government, Mora led his group through challenging situations, such as a cartel attack aimed at reclaiming a prisoner, which resulted in numerous casualties. Nevertheless, their efforts prevailed, and the prisoner was eventually released, albeit after a tense hostage exchange. Tragically, Mora's personal stakes in the conflict became painfully evident when his own son fell victim to the cartel's violence in 2014. This loss deepened his resolve, but also heightened his sense of vulnerability as he foresaw his own potential assassination. Despite months of battling the cartel without substantial assistance, Mora's group eventually received support from Mexican troops, culminating in the expulsion of the cartel from Michoacán between 2013 and 2014. Following the cartel's expulsion, Mora remained in La Ruina, steadfast in his commitment to rebuilding and safeguarding his community. However, his optimism was tempered by the sobering reality that many vigilante groups, including his own, were infiltrated by the cartels, leading to a resurgence of gang violence. This grim trend culminated in Mora's tragic demise on June 29, 2023, when he was ambushed and killed alongside 3 of his bodyguards in La Ruina. An unidentified gunman cut off the vehicles of Mora and his bodyguards, opened fire, and set Mora's vehicle on fire. Hipólito Mora had a pretty good reputation amongst the people of the state and his country, which can be judged by this statement by Reverend Gregorio Lopez, a Catholic priest who accompanied and participated in the self-defense movement of that time. He was a man who could not be corrupted, a natural leader, an authentic voice. Despite the challenges and ultimate tragedy he faced, Mora's legacy endures as a testament to his unwavering integrity, courageous leadership, and genuine dedication to the welfare of his community. Number 2. Manuel Fidel Torres Felix. Manuel Fidel Torres Felix was born in a tiny town of about 8,000 people called Cosala in Sinaloa. By the time he was in his 30s, he had begun working for the notorious Sinaloa cartel. Sinaloa cartel was the strongest and most prominent narcotic cartel in the world, which began as a coalition of agricultural families and became the #1 trafficking operation starting in the 1960s with various forms of narcotics. Torres's older brother, Javier Torres Felix, was already well established in the Sinaloa cartel. By the time Manuel got involved, Javier was a protege of Juan Manuel Salcido, known as El Cochiloco, After Salcedo's death in 1991, Manuel's older brother Javier Torres Felix began working under Ismael El Mille Zambada, one of the cartel's most violent and powerful leaders, who up until this day remains the only member of Mexico's list of most wanted narcotic lords to elude arrest. In 2001, a hit on the brothers Javier and Manuel Torres Felix was supposedly attempted by Ramon Arellano Felix, a leader in the Tijuana cartel. However, the gunmen were unsuccessful. So instead, they took out their violence on the townspeople of the brothers' birthplace of Cosala, taking the lives of 12 people. Eventually, in 2004, after the arrest of Javier Torres Felix, the younger brother, Manuel Fidel Torres Felix, replaced Javier as El Milas's right-hand man, working alongside Oviedo Guzman, the son of El Chapo. Soon he was responsible for moving narcotics from South America to the U.S., first nicknamed ML1. Torres was renowned for his cold-bloodedness and violent tendencies. One of the people Torres worked closely with was Alfredo Beltran Leyva. When Alfredo was arrested in 2008, his brothers blamed El Chapo and decided to break away from the Sinaloa cartel to create their own organization, which became known as the Beltran Leyva cartel. This began a rivalry between the two cartels. Because the Torres Felix brothers had worked so closely with El Chapo, the Beltran Leyva cartel naturally thought of them as prime targets for their vengeance. On April 18, 2008, a fierce attack on the Torres family resulted in the death of Manuel's son, Atanasio Torres Acosta, and an injury to his sister-in-law, Sandra Rivas Heredia, and his 4-year-old daughter, Alondra, whose arm had to be amputated. Atanasio was out for a drive when his car was ambushed by an armed convoy. In the exchange of gunfire, Atanasio was fatally injured, and Sandra and Alondra both hit. The grief and rage that followed for Manuel Torres Felix is said to have driven him mad, and he no longer cared who he hurt or killed in his quest for revenge. Months after the attack, 2 men were discovered at the same spot, one inside a barrel. There was a note attached to the man in the barrel claiming that the 2 were hitmen of Arturo Beltran Leyva, who was killed in order to teach respect for my children. 5 more corpses were found at the same location that very week. On July 4, 2008, a call was made to local police to report the discovery of a mysterious red sedan parked on the roadside. Inside the open trunk were several bodies stuffed into plastic bags. Some people say that over 200 deaths occurred in the weeks following Atanasio's death. Manuel Torres Felix finally met his end in a shootout with the Mexican government on October 13, 2012. Number 3. Alejo Garza Tamez. Alejo Garza Tamez, also known as Don Alejo, was a Mexican maverick who wasn't just a businessman and rancher, but also a legendary hunter. Don Alejo became a household name when he stood his ground against the notorious Los Zetas cartel, defending his ranch near Ciudad Victoria, Tamaulipas, with unyielding courage. Don Alejo, born in 1933 in Allende, Nuevo León, near Monterrey, grew up surrounded by lush forests, with his family deeply rooted in the timber trade. Known for his unwavering work ethic and steadfast reliability, he became a pillar of trust within his community, his word revered and respected. Yet, beyond his vocational endeavors, Don Alejo's soul found solace and joy in the boundless beauty of the great outdoors. From a young age, he was drawn to hunting and fishing, honing his skills as a marksman and amassing an impressive arsenal of rifles along the way. Whether it was doves, geese, or deer, Don Alejo was always ready for the hunt, earning him a well-deserved spot among the legends of the wild. Don Alejo received a demand on November 13, 2010, from the members of the Los Zetas cartel to hand over his ranch within 24 hours. Instead of obeying, Alejo gathered his farm workers and told them to take a day off. He then armed himself with firearms from his personal collection and placed them by the doors and windows of his home, ready to defend his property using his extensive array of hunting and sporting weapons. The next morning, when the cartel's vehicles arrived at Alejo's ranch, gunmen fired a warning shot, declaring their intent to take over the property by force. In response, Garza Tamez exchanged gunfire with them, to which the armed gang retaliated heavily with rifles and grenades and targeted the house directly. Despite being outnumbered, they failed to capture the ranch and fled upon hearing the approach of Mexican Marines. Don Alejo sought refuge inside the farmhouse, managing to eliminate 4 attackers and injure 2 others in the fierce exchange. When Mexican Navy units arrived at the property, they encountered a deserted house bearing the scars of battle, bullet holes riddling its walls and remnants of grenade explosions. Outside, they discovered 4 lifeless and 2 unconscious bodies. Within the confines of the house, the sole figure of Alejo Garza Tamez lay, succumbing to 2 bullet wounds, one piercing his chest and the other his head. Investigation revealed a fortified defense strategy employed by Alejo. Guns and shell casings adorned every window and door, indicating his preparedness to confront the attackers single-handedly. Further scrutiny uncovered severe injuries inflicted by grenade shrapnel on Tamez's body, leading to his demise prior to the arrival of the Marines. The scene painted a portrait of a fierce and determined standoff. Despite overwhelming odds, Alejo stood resolute, defending his homestead with valor and ingenuity. His solitary defiance against the cartel's aggression became a testament to his unwavering courage and unwavering commitment to protecting what was rightfully his. As the authorities pieced together the events that transpired, Alejo's legacy emerged as that of a true hero, whose bravery in the face of danger will be remembered for generations to come. Number 4. Residents of Texcapilla. In recent years, extortion has become increasingly common in Mexico, as criminal organizations shift their focus from narcotic trafficking to territorial extortion. This new approach involves targeting specific regions and demanding money from individuals and businesses. In 2023, Texcapilla, a small town in central Mexico, found itself at the center of this escalating conflict. When the La Familia Michoacana cartel attempted to extort money from the local community, Texcapilla became a battleground for resistance. Despite facing intimidation and threats, the villagers bravely stood their ground. Tragically, the confrontation resulted in a devastating loss of life, with 14 fatalities, including both villagers and suspected cartel members. 7 others were injured, and additional individuals were reported missing. The incident left the community shattered, with a palpable sense of fear and sorrow hanging over Texcapilla. However, amidst the darkness, the villagers' defiance served as a powerful symbol of courage and resilience in the face of criminal violence. Even the Security Secretary of the state, Andrés Andrade Tellez, found it necessary to acknowledge the recent influx of concerning reports regarding territorial extortion encountered by the military. These reports elucidated numerous instances wherein armed individuals affiliated with cartels, particularly the La Familia Michoacana cartel, exerted pressure on community delegates residing in proximate areas to the township of Texcapilla, coercing them into making payments. Such incidents of intimidation and extortion exhibited a gradual escalation, eventually culminating in a violent eruption. The upheaval, documented on video by the New York Times, transpired within the confines of the town's sports field. Confronted with imminent peril, a multitude of villagers, armed with machetes and hunting rifles, confronted the armed assailants. The escalating tensions reached a breaking point, resulting in the discharge of firearms. In the ensuing pandemonium, some individuals fled in fear, while others valiantly pursued and engaged the suspected gang members. Tragically, this confrontation led to the demise of 10 individuals. As per expert analysis, the tumultuous events unfolding in Texcapilla underscored the long-standing simmering tensions that had plagued the local populace, subjected to incessant predation by criminal syndicates, laying bare the fragile state of security and governance in the region. Number 5. Apology of the Gulf Cartel. In March 2023, a group of 4 friends, namely Zindel, Shaid Woodard, Latavia Washington McGee, and Eric Williams from South Carolina, took a road trip to Matamoros, Mexico, for a medical procedure. They drove a rental car with North Carolina plates from Brownsville, Texas, and entered Mexico through an international bridge between Matamoros and Brownsville. Trouble struck when the Gulf Cartel's Grupo Escorpiones tried to kidnap them. When the friends resisted, the cartel opened fire. Sadly, 2 friends lost their lives, and the others suffered severe injuries. Authorities later revealed that the cartel mistook them for someone else. This tragic incident shook both Mexico and the United States, prompting urgent calls for action from U.S. officials. The loss was devastating and irreversible. It underscored the dangers of mistaken identities in the region and highlighted the need for heightened security measures. Zindel and Shade Woodard tragically lost their lives on the spot, while Latavia Washington McGee and Eric Williams sustained injuries. Fortunately, Latavia and Eric received immediate medical care in Matamoros and were safely repatriated to the U.S. Following mounting pressure, the Gulf Cartel felt compelled to issue a statement of apology and denounce the violence. This letter, obtained by the Associated Press, was confirmed by a senior law enforcement official speaking to NBC News. The acknowledgement of responsibility by the cartel underscores the gravity of the situation and the urgent need for cross-border cooperation to address such violence. The letter stated, "The Gulf Cartel Grupo Escorpiones strongly condemns the events of Friday, March 3rd, in which unfortunately an innocent working mother died and 4 American citizens were kidnapped, of which 2 died. For this reason, we have decided to hand over those involved and directly responsible for the events who at all times acted under their own determination and in discipline, and against the rules in which the CDG has always operated." The Gulf Cartel expressed respect for the lives and well-being of innocents in the letter, apologizing to Matamoros society, affected Americans, and their families. This acknowledgement underscores a commitment to peace and highlights the cartel's recognition of the harm caused by the incident. In addition, the CDG asked society to remain calm because we are committed to ensuring that these errors caused by indiscipline aren't repeated. The guilty parties will pay, regardless of who they are, the letter read. In due time, the U.S. State Department also issued a stern advisory, urging citizens to avoid traveling to Tamaulipas. The advisory highlighted the prevalent dangers posed by organized crime, such as gun battles, homicides, and abductions, particularly in the vicinity of the border and within Ciudad Victoria. Number 6, when the cartel underestimated the Mexican troops. In Mexico's state of Tamaulipas, known for its struggles with organized crime, a significant clash occurred near the U.S. border. Mexican soldiers tasked with maintaining order in this volatile area found themselves in a dangerous situation when they encountered a group of gunmen associated with a narcotic cartel. During what seemed like a routine patrol in the Miguel Alemán municipality, the soldiers were suddenly ambushed by the cartel operatives hiding in dense foliage. Despite being taken aback by the surprise attack, the soldiers quickly responded with courage and determination. The gunmen of the cartel, who may have become overconfident because of being greater in number, soon had to realize that they had underestimated the strength and expertise of their opponent. Just like any other state in Mexico, the consequences of standing against the authorities of Tamaulipas can be deadly. The same happened with the attackers of the cartel, who had to face a lethal response from the Mexican troops despite being caught by surprise. With great bravery and smart planning, they fought the attackers fiercely, impressing experienced onlookers with their courageous behavior. Even though the fight was short, the forces of law and order won decisively. 12 gunmen from the cartel were completely defeated. Their plan to take control failed miserably, and it was proven that the law was the strongest authority in the region. This display of determination shows how committed law enforcement agencies are to maintaining peace and security in the region, even while facing such strong opponents. After the shooting stopped and the dust settled, a feeling of victory mixed with reflection. The soldiers' bravery and prompt response earned them recognition as heroes. This event highlighted the ongoing battle against organized crime in Tamaulipas, where control and power are constantly fought over. Tamaulipas' nearness to the United States has made it a battleground for competing cartels trying to control valuable drug routes. The constant violence is a reminder of how high the stakes are in this dangerous situation. But even in the midst of this turmoil, there are signs of hope. The courage shown by the Mexican troops shines as a beacon of light, showing that determination and resilience can win out, even in the toughest circumstances. Number 7. Residents of Texcaltitlan. In Mexico, drug cartels have long utilized intimidation tactics to extort money from businesses, instilling fear through the threat of violence. Among these cartels, the Familia Michoacana has maintained a notorious reputation for its pervasive influence in the region over the years. Recently, members of the Familia Michoacana descended upon Texcaltitlan, a village situated approximately 65 kilometers from the state capital, demanding extortion payments from local farmers. However, met with unexpected resistance, the farmers, weary of continual exploitation, mounted a violent confrontation, resulting in the deaths of 11 individuals. Official statements from the security ministry indicate that 8 of those killed were suspected of criminal involvement, while 3 were identified as members of the community. Although authorities refrained from specifying the local group allegedly involved in the clash, they affirmed collaborative efforts with the National Guard and other law enforcement agencies to furnish further details on the incident. Social media footage captured the chaotic scene, depicting clashes among numerous individuals, with villagers brandishing hunting rifles and pursuing suspected gang members amidst exchanges of gunfire. Reports from local media underscore the Familia Michoacana's culpability in a similar atrocity, namely the massacre of 20 individuals in the neighboring state of Guerrero the preceding year. This recurrent pattern of violence underscores the pervasive grip of cartel influence and the dire consequences faced by communities embroiled in their operations. The brazen defiance exhibited by the Texcaltitlan villagers highlights a growing sentiment of resistance against cartel exploitation, albeit at the cost of further bloodshed and loss. These incidents serve as poignant reminders of the ongoing struggle against organized crime in Mexico and the urgent need for comprehensive strategies to combat its proliferation. As communities grapple with the dual threats of cartel coercion and government incapacity, the pursuit of justice and security remains an elusive endeavor, fraught with peril and uncertainty. Number 8. Women of Cherán. In April 2011, a group of brave women from the small Mexican town of Cherán reached a breaking point. They were tired of enduring the harsh exploitation of their community by the powerful La Familia Michoacana cartel. Fueled by a potent mix of frustration and determination, they made a resolute decision to stand up against the oppressive control imposed by the cartel. At the heart of their rebellion lay a deep-seated grievance: the relentless destruction of their surrounding forest, orchestrated by loggers allegedly backed by the cartel. On that pivotal day, the women of Cherán took a monumental leap of faith. They banded together, facing down a convoy of trucks laden with ancient oaks, symbols of their heritage and lifelines of their ecosystem. With unyielding courage, they obstructed the path of the convoy, using their own bodies as barriers and launching stones and fireworks in a desperate bid to halt the destruction. Their audacious defiance rippled across the town, stirring a groundswell of solidarity as church bells tolled, calling forth more residents to join their cause. The State Department, recognizing the women's valor as a portent of change, acknowledged that signs of discontent had long simmered beneath the surface in Cherán. As the uprising gained momentum, local law enforcement attempted to intervene, but their efforts only served to stoke the flames of rebellion. The protesters viewed the authorities as complicit in the cartel's corruption, further fueling their resolve. Driven by an unwavering determination to reclaim control of their destinies, the townspeople stormed the seat of local government, demanding the expulsion of all law enforcement and municipal officials perceived to be colluding with the cartel. Brett Gundlach, a seasoned Canadian photojournalist who bore witness to the unfolding events in Cherán, bore testimony to the indomitable spirit of its people. For the inhabitants of Cherán, the choice was stark: either resist the encroaching tide of cartel tyranny or risk being swallowed whole by its suffocating grip. The sudden and daring onslaught by the women caught the loggers off guard, compelling them to beat a hasty retreat without offering any resistance. In the aftermath of the uprising, the resilient denizens of Cherán seized the reins of power, erecting a grassroots government rooted in their ancient Purépecha traditions. They established a community police force to patrol the streets and erected checkpoints at all entry points to Cherán, aimed at intercepting contraband and safeguarding against external threats. In a remarkable turn of events, the Mexican government extended a rare acknowledgement to Cherán, recognizing its status as an autonomous, self-governing indigenous community. This gesture underscored the town's fierce determination to chart its own course, free from external interference. In the aftermath of the uprising, the specter of the cartel loomed ever smaller over Cherán, with speculation rife that the diminishing returns from illegal logging rendered the risk of retaliating against the town untenable. Moreover, reports surfaced indicating that the La Familia Michoacana cartel had either disbanded or retreated, following the demise of their leaders in separate military operations. Yet even as one threat waned, another loomed on the horizon in the form of the Caballeros Templarios, Knights Templar, a splinter faction comprised of former La Familia members. The extent of their influence within Charan remains shrouded in uncertainty, underscoring the enduring challenges confronting the resilient community in their ongoing struggle against organized crime.